Here's the hardest truth about narcissistic abuse and the things that we have to get our heads around. Our journey, our journey is in complete parallel, but in an inverse parallel to the journey of the narcissist in their life that created this personality disorder and this pathological condition known as personality disordered narcissism. You know, we have to understand that at the end of all this, we are in a fucking split. We are in the exact position that their false self that they created to avoid was in. It is an object relations failure. We have been projectively identified upon. We have been led down a fucking path of destruction and um, a very ego dystonic way of thinking about ourselves. And we have to realize that. And I think that is the hardest truth to learn post narcissistic abuse is how we spin out of it in a very narcissistic contagion that sort of spreads into every interaction that we have for a long, long time. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is the fact that we are in a split. Our personality has been split. Things outside of us have been split into good and bad. And that means that our psychology stays within that idealization or devaluing people. And this is the danger point because for us as survivors, especially whenever we're online and seeking help and validation, we will go to those places that give us the validation and they are the perfect cover for abusers and for people who want to confuse and keep on getting supply out of you. And because we're in that phase, we can very easily idealize what we're being told and then be deeply rejected and hurt, and rightly so, whenever we learn that it isn't true or it doesn't really help or, and the other uncomfortable truth is that we tend to avoid the uncomfortable places, and that's where the truth lies. That's where the truth lies. And that's why, we have to take our emotional attachment to this shared fantasy out of the equation and see it for what it really is. And that was an objectless relationship. It was an internal fantasy. And it wasn't yours. That was your nightmare, and it's a really precarious place to be. And I hope people listen to this properly because, I'm telling you this from experience of falling into too many traps. Even helping people post abuse can be a very precarious position to be in because people can conceive things the wrong way because of where they are in their healing. Because at the start, everything's very erratic, everything's very chaotic, everything's very hard to hear. And the truth is hard to hear, but the uncomfortable truth is where it's going to sort of start setting you free. Staying in that idealized loop of only hearing what you want to hear is the very thing that's going to prolong the internal abuse that you're now passing out to yourself ease, with ease, with unremitting lack of remorse for yourself. Trust me, I've been there. I've been there. So understand this. You are in cycles of idealization and devaluation of other people because you've been narcissistically abused, and that has altered your personality slightly because it's put you in a split and it's moved you away from your authentic self. And in between your authentic self and the now burgeoning traumatic you are all those emotional disruptions that you need to tackle. But you need to do it by removing your emotions. You need to take your emotions out of it completely and bring your rational brain into sense. And yes, that requires top down therapy. And yes, bottom up therapy will help. It'll help you get there. It'll help you maybe access those hidden emotions. but it won't work them through for you. You're going to need to work them through by understanding the confabulations of a narcissist and how they manipulate and lie by omission, lie by gaslighting, by equivacy. Everything's a made up fantasy. They live in a fantasy world. And this is the world you find yourself in at the end. And it's hence why you're so fucking confused. Because how can you make sense of a fantasy world that you don't belong in? You can't. Especially whenever you keep your emotions tied to it. So narcissistic abuse is about self-concept. And your self-concept has been disturbed. You have an identity disturbance going on post-narcissistic abuse. Learn from the right sources. Get help from professionally accredited, qualified, trained psychodynamic therapists, or psychologists, or trauma-informed counselors. Please, it's so important. Peace out. Loads of love.